Hello everyone, welcome back to the Anthony podcast, and today I'm joined by Sophia from the Vocal Mind podcast. How you doing today?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm alright.
Awesome.
So, how's your day been so far?
It's been really good. It's hot though. Are you hot?
I'm actually alright at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, it's been really hot here. Are you from West Midlands? Where are you from?
I'm from Birmingham, England. So, yes, the West Midlands.
Nice.
You're from London.
Yeah. I lived in Coventry though for a little while, so I'm not far from Birmingham. I used to go to Birmingham quite often.
You please tell me if I'm wrong, but I did a bit of research, and I seem to remember saying you were born in Africa.
Yeah, I did. I was actually born in Africa. You're right. You did great research.
So, do you mind if I ask what part of Africa were you born in?
I was born in Central Africa, so like near Congo.
So can you remember them times, or were you like way too young?
No, I can remember. I came to England when I was around 11 or 10 years old. So I remember my time before I came to England, or my like a primary school, yeah.
So obviously you were young. So how did you find the transition? Was it hard, or how was it?
It was really hard. England was very cold. I was used to living in a hot country. When I first moved to England, it was very hard for me to adjust. It was much cleaner and more developed than where I was familiar with, but it was much colder and, more busy, very busy. Especially I moved to London. London is very busy. So in comparison to living in like a very quiet place, it was really busy.
So did you find it difficult in terms of the culture, the positives and negatives?
Yeah, I think I did find it difficult because of the culture. But the good thing is I already spoke English because I grew up speaking English, and so I already spoke English, so it wasn't hard for me to learn. At least I didn't have to learn a new language. And then I had family in London already, so it was much easier for me. So my mum used to live in England, so I moved to England to be with my mother.
So it wasn't too bad for you then?
No.
So going way forward, when did you decide to get into the content creating space?
So I actually launched so I started streaming on Twitch about nearly 2 years ago. And then I launched my own podcast because I like talking to people. I like to speak to different people from all over the world and different cultures and backgrounds and careers. And so I launched my own podcast and I started interviewing people just like you do. But I like wrestling. So as you can see, I have a lot of pro wrestling figures here. And I love wrestling and I love watching it, and so I started watching pro wrestling on Twitch because first of all, I didn't even know that you could watch pro wrestling on Twitch. I didn't know that, right? So I started watching pro wrestling on Twitch, WWE especially. And I didn't know that it was really popular and people like wrestling this much, And so I started watching wrestling on Twitch, and all my content on Twitch is around wrestling, professional wrestling. So it's like I review like Monday Night Raw, NXT, AEW Dynamite, and then Friday Night SmackDown. And so there's a lot of wrestling to it. And then now there's Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling.
Yeah.
And there's so much wrestling, so much, even NXT UK.
Yeah.
So, do you like wrestling yourself?
Yeah. I follow as much as I can do, but obviously there's a lot of companies and you can't follow everybody, unfortunately. I've only got so many hours in the day.
Yeah, Pete Dunne is from Birmingham. He's changed his name to Butch now.
Yeah. So obviously, well, not obvious, but for the people that don't know, you have a partnership with Twitch. So was that just like a standard partnership, or was it like, did they reach out to you, or did you reach out to them? Or
so someone told me about the sports program. I know a guy who was on the sports program, and I was already doing wrestling content, and he said to me, oh, because pro wrestling is a sport. A lot of people don't think that professional wrestling is a sport, but it comes under sports. And so I know that Twitch had a sports section, but I didn't know that pro wrestling was like sports, because you think of sports, you think of football, basketball, golf, like proper sports. You don't think pro wrestling is sports. But then I just applied for it, and then I got into it. So yeah.
That I don't say. Did I really like live streaming and stuff? I can imagine sometimes the comments can be brutal. Get obviously you're female, and unfortunately let's do this stigma that females don't really have any intelligent opinions.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you deal with that, or do you just try to ignore it?
I try to ignore it personally, because if I let it get to me, then it will be like proper annoying. And yes, I do get a lot of dirty comments from, I don't know, because at the end of the day, Twitch also is a platform for younger people. So sometimes I'm confused. Are these like kids? And that's disgusting, first of all. But I do, on a daily basis, I do face a lot of like dirty comments from people. They just come and say things about my body and just really rude to me. But there's nothing I can do about it. Do you know what I mean? I just have to delete those comments and continue and not let it bother my day. But sometimes it does, like if I'm trying to have an intellectual conversation and then someone comes in and says something about my chest, it's irritating, because it's just like I'm trying to have a proper conversation and all you think about is my chest.
Yeah, I would imagine that on some days, like mentally, can just get a bit too much. And even though you said you try to ignore it, even I have my days where I just think to myself, oh, I can't deal with this today. I just need a break.
Yeah.
And especially in the wrestling space in particular, obviously you do other stuff as well, but especially in the wrestling space, there's a real lack of females.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. On Twitch, I think I might be one of two people that cover pro wrestling who are women, right? There is like hardly, even as a pod, I know that there's some podcasts, female podcasters, or like shows they cover wrestling, they'll only cover females. It's quite, it's not really diverse. I don't know. I feel like, women do like pro wrestling, but maybe it's not as popular for women as well to enjoy pro wrestling.
I personally think there's I personally think there's a lot more female fans than we know about, but a lot of them just don't feel comfortable enough to voice their opinion. Because as we just said, there's still quite a negative stigma, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And obviously, you, you're, and obviously you speak about very, very real issues like political stuff. So I can imagine from that aspect, it must be a nightmare.
Yeah, it's true. Exactly. It really is, you know.
So have you always been interested in like the political landscape, or that like,
As always, and always, you know, about injustice. I hate like bullies, especially countries who bully other countries, because some countries have more money than other countries, so they bully them, you know. And I'm from Africa, so obviously Africa, like where I'm from, is like some of the poorest parts in the whole world, and they get bullied by the European countries, you know.
yeah.
Saying it, you know, whether it's the UK or America, they are, you know, or any other European country, whether they're bullying Africans or Arabs, Middle Easterns.
The way I've always seen it, because they always like to make people think other people are the enemy rather than the people that are actually in charge of these countries. Like, if you know what I mean, like, because obviously when we the prime minister or the president, a lot of these people are corrupt. So they try and put the blame on other countries.
Mm-hmm. So true.
So what age did you find interest in political stuff?
I think when I was in high school, you know, when I moved to England and I was around, so, and then obviously like when 9/11 happened as well, you know, everyone in the West, obviously, and I'm sure you're familiar because you're from Birmingham, and Birmingham is very multicultural. There's a lot of Indians in Birmingham, there's a lot of Muslim people, you know, but people started thinking that like a lot of like Muslim people were associated to terrorism. And, you know, I don't like, yes, there are a few bad people who are Muslim, but not every single Muslim person is a bad person, you know. And so I used to see like, and some my family in Africa are Muslim. And I see like people are scared of Muslims and they think they're all terrorists and stuff. And it really shocks me because I never understood how you can judge the entire Muslim community just based on a few people's actions, you know. And so yeah, I've always seen that like injustice, and I just thought it was really, I'm not even Muslim, you know that, but I stick up for them because I think it's important, you know.
Of course. So 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 what so so when did you decide I'm gonna start speaking like this on my platform? Because a lot of people are either too afraid to, or they just don't want the hassle, if you know what I mean.
Because I see people who do speak out, you know, and it really inspires me. I don't want to die a coward. I don't want to die because I'm scared that I spoke out. If I say that I believe that Palestine is a country, and yes, I have friends who are Jewish and I have friends who are Israeli, you know, and if I want to acknowledge Palestine, if they do not acknowledge Palestine, I do. And I'm not going to be like, oh, I don't want to offend my Israeli friends or Jewish friends. For my own beliefs, I acknowledge Palestine. I think that, you know, what is going on over there is terrible, right? And they're killing people for no reason. A journalist just got killed last week on live television. Is there going to be justice? If you don't, I don't know, I just don't want to die being scared of what people think if I don't stand up for what I believe in, you know, especially because I feel like I have some sort of morals and I can't just not. But it has crossed my mind, like, I don't want to offend people, but then it's like, I don't want to die a coward either. So
I completely understand. I completely understand your position. But why do you think? Why do you think? How do I say this? Why? Can you understand why certain people might not want to do a show about it?
yeah, because obviously you don't want to offend some people, so you won't say anything because you're scared you offend people. But what about the people who are being oppressed, right? They will never get justice, or you know, not, if we don't talk about it, then how will anything ever change, you know? And it's like, it just doesn't make sense, right? You know, you have to say something. You can't just watch people suffer and just watch and pretend it doesn't happen. Like, you're watching people die and pretend it doesn't happen. Like, because you live in England or you live in America, so you're not living in a country that's in war, yeah, so you're like, well, it's not my business because I'm not over there. There's no one dropping bombs over here, so I get to like wake up in my own bed. I got hot water. You don't worry about these things, you know. Well, I think I see people who do, they speak out about injustice. They really inspire me. They really do, especially aid workers. I really like people who give their time to support other people in third world countries like Syria, or like in Africa or in Asia. Like they're literally over there, like giving out food to people who are living on this, like in refugee camps because of war. These are victims, like it's not their fault. Why, like, you know, the Western countries have destroyed their homes and now they have to live in camps for the rest of their lives, and there's no food, there's no nothing, and then they wait for the United Nations to come and give them like a little box of food every day. It's really hard.
It's really difficult. It's really difficult for me personally, because I can understand both sides of it. I can understand, obviously, why it's important to speak out. But at the same time, I can understand why people do not want to go on a live stream or do like actual show about it, if you know what I mean.
No, of course, so do I.
So when you started your YouTube channel, so I imagine that was part of the reason why you wanted to interview a variety of people so you could get different backgrounds.
Yep.
So what has been your favorite interview so far?
I love Dr. Yvonne Ridley. She's been my favorite because I really admire her. You know, as I said, I was talking about people who really speak out. You know, she's an English journalist. She's from England. And she was one of the top female journalists, right? And there's a movie about her called Official Secrets, because she got the document to say that USA and UK were spying on the United Nations so they could place sanctions on Iraq to invade Iraq. And she, as a British person, went against her nation, which is England, and leak that document. Yeah, nothing even happened, by the way, because these countries are so powerful. But you know, she leaked that document. Not only that, is like she got kidnapped by the Taliban. Like she got kidnapped by the Taliban. They put her in a prison. And you know, she has an incredible story. They said to her, we'll let you go if you read the Quran. And she said, okay. And she ended up reading the Quran, and then after she ended up converting to Islam. Imagine you get kidnapped by somebody and then you become their religion. It's like a really rare, extraordinary outcome, right? So she has definitely been somebody that I really admire, and like I can't even believe today, like I got to speak to her. She's a top female judge, and she stands up for what she believes in. She's like one of the only people that have a Palestinian passport that is not from Palestine. She's done some incredible, you know, things in her life. And so she definitely is probably my favorite person that I've ever interviewed, just because I love her values. Like she, even though she's English and she's British, she was seeing what's going on to the poor people in Afghanistan and in Palestine. And she said, even though this is my country, I can't watch what is going on. Like my country is doing some bad things, and I need to say that my country is doing bad things instead of sticking up for my country and you know, just continuing like acting like nothing's happening.
So is it hard for you to go from an interview like that? Yeah, start again. So is it hard for you to go from an interview like that to interview somebody like Sean Ross, for example? Because obviously it's a completely different thing, and it would be hard for me in order to gain my mindset, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like obviously talking to Yvonne was more a political conversation, you know, and trying to understand like her background and what she's done. And like she is a journalist. Sean Ross is also a journalist, but Sean Ross is a sports journalist, so slightly different, you know. It is very different. I think with Sean, it was more like a relaxed conversation. I wasn't nervous to speak to him. When I spoke to Yvonne, I felt like I couldn't breathe. I was so nervous. I was like shaking, because it's like she's the top female journalist, right? She's the most recognized Muslim woman in the world. Like she sits with presidents and she sits with the top leaders in the world. Yeah. And I'm here like interviewing her. I thought, wow, like only top journalists can speak to her, and I'm just like Twitch streamer. And so for me, I was so nervous. But with Sean, I wasn't really nervous, because with Sean, we're talking about wrestling, and I don't know, I think it's more relaxed, isn't it? Because it's fun. Like wrestling is fun, it's relaxed. It's not like we're talking about world leaders and like serious situation where people are dying and, you know, there's a war. So it's very different. I interviewed Carol Baskin as well. I don't know if you know who she is. There's a TV show on Netflix about her. Apparently she killed her husband, right? I spoke to her. She, you know, she was the nicest woman in the world. People were like, oh, why are you going to interview her? Like she killed her husband. There's no evidence that she killed her husband, because if she did, she would be in prison, first of all.
I don't mean to cut you off, but is that from Tiger King or whatever it's called?
Yeah, her. Yeah,
I've heard the name. I have not seen the show though.
I haven't seen it either, but it was really interesting because obviously her job is to look after tigers. And so I like to interview people with really unusual jobs, whether you're a journalist or like Carol's job, like she has a sanctuary and she looks after tigers. And so it was really interesting to speak to her. And then obviously like the media, all the shit, minor French, that she's been through because of rumors and Netflix putting that TV show out, making out like she's a murderer, and like the whole world basically accusing her of a murder. Like imagine she wakes up she's the strongest person. I said to her, like, you're the strongest person I've ever met. because you wake up every day and you're not phased. You know, the whole world is calling you a murderer and they're calling you a bad person and an evil person. And like you have the strength to continue with your life. You know what I mean? When she did Dancing with the Stars, the family of her late husband, they were running ads while she's on about his death. You know, she's very strong, very, very strong.
I can't imagine how emotionally draining that must be. Not only for you as the interviewer, but more importantly for her as a person.
Exactly. The whole world basically calling you a murderer when you haven't even killed somebody. You know?
So when you're doing the interviews, do you find it emotionally draining sometimes when you talk about a serious topic such as that, or as you mentioned before?
I find race being very emotionally draining. Talking about race, I don't enjoy talking about race. I understand there's some positions that you need to speak about it. I'm half white, half black, so I've never faced racism. Yeah, like, and I hate being in a position where it's like either white people or black people, and then they're like, making me feel like I need to pick sides if I'm more white or if I'm more black. And that's why I don't really cover politics so much, because I was put in that situation a lot. When I first started streaming, I used to cover politics, and I think obviously there's two sides of politics apply to different people. Like the white people, they see it differently, and we can easily say, yeah, color doesn't exist, but I think people don't make it exist. It's, so the ways, especially in America, my audience are American, and so I would always be in a situation where I had to see things from a colored person's perspective and from a white person's perspective and from an Indian person's perspective. And I was just like, nah, man, this is too emotionally draining. Like, I can't deal with this shit, like all the time. It's like, oh, and it is like, especially in America, there's a lot of injustice, like colored people go through a lot, especially police crimes and stuff, this happened, yeah. Like, so I just find that really emotionally draining.
Obviously, I'm never gonna really be able to relate for obvious reasons. But I always try to at least. How do I say this? I always try to. I can't think of the right word. I always try to appreciate people's stories, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And keep an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
So have you ever had a thing where you've had somebody on and you reached out to somebody else, but they've seen that you had the other person on, so they refused to come on?
Not yet, no.
I don't want to put you off, but that probably will happen at some point, so just be prepared.
Yeah, maybe. Exactly. I want to interview Jim Cornette, but because I interviewed Vince Russo, he might say no.
No, he'll probably do it. He loves to talk. So he probably will do it.
Yeah.
So because you interview a variety of different people,
yeah,
with different stories in different fields.
Yeah.
Do you find it hard for you to build an audience, if you know what I mean?
Yes, of course, because the algorithm only wants you to talk about one thing and one thing only. And I cannot do that, okay? I can't do the same thing every damn day. And so even with social media, people will follow you just for like whether it's wrestling or like football, you like football, yeah. You know, or whether you want to post whatever you want to post, like politics, you have to just post one thing. And I can't do that because I like different things. So I like politics, I like music, I like wrestling. I want to talk about everything, you know what I mean? Curly hair.
Exactly. Honestly, I find it really annoying sometimes because people just want you to speak out one thing, and I'm like, I'm a human being. I appreciate that people only have one channel based on one thing good for them, but I like to talk about a variety of different things.
Yeah.
Like if I watch a football match, for example, I want to talk about the game, but I also want to speak about a wrestling event or like a song or whatever. So it's really difficult sometimes. But
what football team do you support?
I don't really support a team like that. I just like the overall sport, to be honest. But
I don't support Aston Villa or Birmingham City.
But my family support Aston Villa. So I guess you can say I'm a Villa follower, but okay. I wouldn't call myself a supporter.
Yeah.
So when you're making content, how do you try and separate yourself from other content creators?
I don't think I need to, just because of what I'm doing. I don't know anyone else that's doing what I'm doing. Like there are other people maybe that cover pro wrestling, of course, but I feel like I look very distinctive. Like I look, because I'm mixed race, I look very exotic. And so I don't think, unless there's some woman out there who comes on who's like mixed race, who looks Arab, there isn't anyone out there that does what I do. So I think that's also a downside, because then I don't have like somebody to like gravitate to their audience, you know, because like if you like Eminem, you might start liking any other like rapper like MGK or something, like, you know what I mean? Or if you like R&B, if you like Beyonce, then you're gonna like any other singer that sounds like Beyonce. But I don't think that there's anyone out there like me. So that's a positive. But mostly it's not actually positive, because then I have no one to like, you know.
I would say it's a positive, but it's also a negative at the same time.
Yeah.
And I guess I know people. I understand why people gravitate to people that I have not worded that right at all. So what I'm trying to say is I can understand how people gravitate to similar people, but I think it's important. Did I now you know what, I forgot what I was going to say, never mind.
No worries.
So in terms of like inspiration, as you mentioned earlier, who is the one person, like content wise, inspires you, like motivate you? Does that make sense?
No, it does. The thing is, again, like the people that motivate me, like content creators, are like women news reporters, right? So they're not content creators, they just cover the news, like journalists, like Amanpour, I love her, you know, Megyn Kelly, people like that. So they're not like content creators like what I'm doing, but they're more like talk show hosts. That somebody, aid workers, like I said earlier, aid workers really inspire me. I think right now that's probably the biggest thing that inspires me. People who go to Syria and like, you know, Africa, and they give their time to help people.
Would you, I think I know what you would say, but would you do aid work?
Yeah, I'm going to, of course. I'm going to. I think next year I want to go. So right now I'm working on with the foundation in Cameroon. I really want to go there. I want to go to Syria so bad, and see and help people there. Afghanistan, if I can get in the country. All over, I wish actually my dream job would be like to work for UNESCO, which is like the United Nations Refugee division, and help people.
And and I, and I, and I'm sure one day you'll get there.
Yeah, for sure.
I are you ever fearful that 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 no one, sorry, apologies.
You don't
So,
need to apologize.
say that again, sorry.
You don't need to apologize.
No, but basically sometimes I feel a bit embarrassed sometimes because I've got so many things going through my head at once. So
Yeah.
it's hard for me to pinpoint on what I'm trying,
Yeah.
on what question I want to say next, and
Yeah.
so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So do you know your presentation? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the way you speak, yeah, so confidently,
Yeah.
and so assuredly.
Yeah.
Was that always the case, or did you have to
I'm
learn?
not confident, but I do it. I don't think, I just do it. That's the thing. I'm actually not confident. I'm actually far from confident, but I just do it because I like to be in a situation where I feel scared. Like I feel like that's the best place to be. And so I'm always like just doing it without actually thinking. So I don't think I'm confident.
Well, it doesn't come across like you're not confident. You really do come across as very assured of yourself.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
And I wish sometimes I had a bit more of that. It's not that I'm afraid to give my opinion. It's because of how I speak, yeah. Sometimes it would take me a while. It would take me a while to get my point across. And obviously in 2022, you're gonna be clipped up in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something I don't want to say I'm fearful of, but I do think like it a lot. So I admire that you just put yourself on the ropes, so to speak, and you just swing to the fences.
Yeah.
In the metaphorical sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So I always like to end the episode by saying, what is your personal goal? Which I'm pretty sure you've already answered. And what is your goal for your podcast?
My goal is to increase the audience for my podcast.
So would you like to take it on the road and do it like live shows, or?
No, I don't want to do that. I like to stay in my basement. I don't want to do nothing live. No, I don't know, man. I'm scared of people. Trust me. I like to sit in front of a computer, but anything live, I don't think I could do that. It's not my seat. It's not for me. I know like podcasters, they go and they record it live and go on tour. I don't know. I don't see that happening for me anyways.
I've always wondered it. I wonder why podcasters like us, we all like talking in front of camera, but if you put us in a public setting, we're not going to be as vocal. I wonder why that is. I wonder why the psychological aspect comes into it.
Yeah, me too. You're absolutely right.
That would be an interesting conversation for a psychiatrist.
Exactly.
So So do you want to promote your stuff? And thank you for coming on.
Yeah, for sure. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter, Vocal Mind Sophia, and my YouTube is Vocal Minds, and my Twitch is Sophia, so Sophia with PH.
Thank you for coming on, Sophia. It's been a really good experience.
Thank you for having me. You're so amazing.
Thank you very much. So thank you for watching, everyone. If you want to follow me and Sophia, then you can follow me at Anthony Talk #1. And if you want to follow the podcast, you can go to any platforms, Spotify, iTunes, and whatever platform there are, and it's all available there.
Awesome.
So thank you for watching, everybody, and I will speak to you in a bit.
Awesome.